This may look like the finale of the hunt. The lioness tightens her grip on the antelope's throat and begins dragging the prey towards the den. However, the cunning hoofed animal is only pretending to be injured. The lioness prematurely believed in her victory and loosened her grip. In a crucial moment, the antelope performs an incredible trick, twisting to stand up from a lying position, all while the lioness continues to squeeze its throat. The predatory cat did not expect this. It tried to bring down the hoofed animal again, but the antelope found a second wind. It turns the tables on the lioness, tossing the enemy off its back. Even while lying on the ground right under the herbivore's hooves, the lioness attempted to strangle the antelope, but she had to release the prey and hide in the bushes. Today we will show you other instances where predators underestimated their opponents and paid the price. A lioness ambushed a zebra suddenly and was able to catch the fleeing prey when she received a devastating blow straight to her chest. The zebra kicked the huntress during her jump. The force of the hoof strike was so immense that the lioness's flight was cut short and she crashed to the ground. It's curious, did she survive that at all? Here, a lioness tried to sneak up on a small Thompson's gazelle, thinking that it wouldn't offer much resistance. The sand-colored fur and the ability to stalk closely with bent legs allowed the predatory cat to approach the prey very closely and make a beautiful, decisive leap. But the lioness didn't know who she was messing with. The Thompson's gazelle is one of the fastest animals in the world. The hoofed animal had just a fraction of a moment to gain the necessary speed, but it effortlessly evaded the lioness's grasp, then sharply veered away, completely breaking free and escaping. The lioness had no chance. A leopard cautiously approached warthogs, intending to pounce on one of them at the decisive moment. The cat wanted to catch the hoofed animals off guard, seized the target's throat while the others scattered in panic. But the leopard didn't know who it was dealing with. It was noticed just a moment before the leap, but the warthogs did something that the predator did not expect. One of them ran straight at the panther, saving its mate, and knocked the predator to the ground with a powerful strike. The agile leopard immediately jumped up, yet injured from the encounter from the tusked opponent, the predator couldn't run particularly fast. The furious warthogs didn't let go of the enemy. They caught up with it, and 3 of them attacked the predator, trampling it in the dust. Their fierce blows dealt serious damage to the panther. Only at the last moment did the leopard manage to leap over the adversaries. Even then, the warthogs tried to reach the predator right in the air. If they had knocked it to the ground, they would have surely finished it off. Fortunately, the leopard's quick reaction speed allowed it to evade fatal blows, escape the encirclement, and flee. It managed to survive, but this will be a lesson for the predator. One should not underestimate warthogs, which, to protect their family members, are willing to be the first to attack a powerful predator. Such devotion to family really deserves your like, does it not? A young, inexperienced yet quite strong lion, together with a more seasoned lioness, decided to attack a whole herd of hoofed animals. Probably, if they were dealing with zebras or wildebeests, their plan would have succeeded. However, the young lions went after buffaloes and underestimated their opponents when they chose a direct confrontation. Initially, they sneaked up on the herbivores, but then leaped out of the tall grass and rushed at them together. The predators tried to sow panic among the hoofed animals and attack the fleeing ones from behind. This was the only way to nullify the numerical advantage of the opponent. But the bulls turned towards the panthers with their faces and acted against the enemies as one. Initially, the hoofed animals stood their ground, and the lions assumed that the sudden appearance of predators would make the bulls freeze in place. So the inexperienced cats continued the attack. However, as soon as the lions approached close enough, the buffaloes launched a furious counterattack. A lion's weight can reach 1/4 ton, but the young cats are much lighter. They already possess considerable strength, but even one bull is approximately 3 times more massive and stronger than each of the predators. And when the bulls attack together, the lions have no chance of success. Now they need to think about their own survival. A swift charge from the buffalo made the lions recoil, as if frightened school children. Underestimating the bravery of these buffaloes was a mistake. The lions still tried to assess the situation, hoping to attack some particularly audacious bull from the side. But the buffaloes left no chance for success. The lions had to retreat. After a prolonged and exhausting chase, a pack of 14 wolves finally managed to bring down a massive deer. However, the gray predators didn't really know whose territory they were amusing themselves on. A huge brown bear weighing just under half a ton emerged from the bushes to reclaim the prey from the competitors. The pack engaged with the wrong opponent. The bear acted impressively assertive. It immediately pounced on the deer, overturned it, and started his lunge. The wolves were shocked by such audacity, but they hesitated to attack. They were tired, and the bear wisely showed no aggression towards them. It moved forcefully on purpose, demonstrating its strength but not really posing a threat to the pack. The bear seemed to be collecting a toll. The wolves had no choice but to let him have their prey if they didn't want to fight with an unpredictable outcome. It's a pity for all their efforts, of course, but the bear's ability to navigate the situation deserves respect and your like as well, doesn't it? Here the wolves play the role of robbers. Let's give credit where credit's due. Attacking only in pairs against 2 hungry grizzlies right in the middle of the giant predator's meal was bold. Or foolish. It depends on the perspective. In any case, the wolves elegantly swooped down on their opponents, suddenly descending from the slope. However, the unexpected appearance of the wolves didn't deter the bears. They stood their ground against the attackers. A real positional struggle began here. The task for the smaller predators was to rely on endurance and to provoke aggression from the bears. Larger and stronger, the bears only yielded to their opponents in endurance. Beating the bears and scaring them away from the meat could only be achieved by luring them into a chase and then swiftly counter-attacking. The wolves began to implement their plan. They teased the bears, irritated them, provoked them, drove them away from their prey, and made feigned attacks. The giant bears nonetheless didn't fall for the provocations and acted much more calculatedly than their enemies would have preferred. The bears powerfully responded to every attack, drove away the wolves, chased them, but never strayed far from their prey. They didn't allow themselves to be drawn into an exhausting long chase and always returned to their partner. Wolves are known for their intelligence, but underestimating the intellect of bears was honestly a mistake. These enormous beasts deciphered the cunning of the wolves and defended the found prey. The wolves had to retreat. They realized that with each feigned attack, they only got closer to the enemy and were at a greater risk of exposing themselves to the devastating blow of a bear's paw. If you think the bears always prevail over wolves regardless of the wolves' numerical advantage, then you are mistaken. Here, a huge grizzly bear roamed on the territory of a pack of very bold wolves in search of food. They noticed the competitor and were the first to rush into battle. The bear, in rage, gave a determined resistance to the wolves, but they demonstrated cunning. The bear broke free from the encirclement, scattering the wolves who dodged his powerful strikes, forcing them to just constantly maneuver. This way, the bear managed to avoid being trapped. However, the enormous predator underestimated its clever opponents. The wolves attacked the bear again and turned his favorite fighting tactic against the giant himself. The bear would break free from the encirclement, attacking one wolf or another. When the grizzly lunged at a member of the pack, that wolf would run straight, luring the bear to follow. The other wolves immediately attacked the bear's back. He tried to fend off the attack, but the situation repeated. The wolves sought a gap in the grizzly's defense, waited for him to make a mistake, and moved too slowly to turn for a strike, exposing his paw, back, or face to the opponent's fangs. Wolves are incredibly enduring and can afford to be patient. The bear understood this, but could do nothing about it. When he stood still, he was attacked from different sides. When he broke free from the encirclement, they immediately pounced on his back. He couldn't catch even one wolf. Finally, the constant wolf attacks pushed the bear to the brink of panic, and he began to run with all his remaining strength. Even the wolves don't finish him off. He won't appear on their territory ever again. A massive buffalo chases a lion as if a greyhound chases a rabbit. The powerful male lion runs away in shock. Judging by the surprise on the predator's face, he can't believe the audacity of the prey. But he has to run away because the buffalo is twice as massive as even an adult and strong lion. If the hoofed animal catches the enemy at this speed, it will knock him to the ground and trample him. Perhaps the lion would survive such a trouncing, but risking it during a hunt is not beneficial. The lion runs away right in front of the other members of his hunting group. It turns out that this was not the last fit of rage before the fatal end for the buffalo, but its cunning plan. Predators surrounded it, then gradually began to tighten the circle. Sooner or later, one or two predators would leap onto the bear's back, and another would grab him by the throat, ending the battle. But instead of that, the hoofed animal gathered courage and employed the best defense tactic he had, which was a furious counterattack. A ramming attack on the lion and the predator's escape allowed the herbivore to break out of the encirclement before the other predators realized what had even happened. It was not worth underestimating its aggression and cunning. When the buffalo found itself out of reach of the lioness, it immediately stopped and began to retreat. It didn't plan to fight the lion, but simply broke free from the siege. Now it all depends on the speed of its run. Of course, escaping is also risky, but its family members are not far away. If it manages to return to them, the buffalo will be saved. So let's wish it luck. Even if you usually root for predators, you've got to agree that such composure, endurance, and courage from an herbivore deserve respect, don't they? A lone hyena noticed a family of buffaloes. The predatory animal couldn't count on victory even over a very young calf when both of its enormous and powerful parents were nearby. It seems like the father and mother are calming the baby so that it doesn't worry. But under the intense gaze of the hyena, anyone would feel uneasy. Moreover, there is a risk that the hyena is just waiting for the other members of the pack to arrive for a joint strike. However, they could repel the calf and deal with it. So the male decides to strike at the hyena. Perhaps he simply doesn't like it when someone's staring at his little one like it's lunch. In any case, the predator underestimated the determination of the hoofed animals. The bull charged the hyena in a frontal attack, and the hunter had to save its life. You know about the reputation of honey badgers, right? So these hyenas were clearly unaware and underestimated this kid. Of course, even against one hyena, the honey badger is like a gnome against a troll. And here hyenas are generally 3 against 1. But neither the size of the enemy nor the numerical superiority does not bother our furious hero at all. He goes into battle and shows the hyenas where they belong, in a pile of garbage. Although the jaws of spotted predators can shatter bones, the honey badger not only has a strong hide, but also reacts to attacks with the speed of a bullet. As soon as the hyena tries to grab him, the honey badger immediately turns to her for a counterattack. The hyenas thought they had surrounded the enemy, but for the honey badger, this is not a problem. He easily spins around his axis and distributes such heavy blows that the hyenas can only run away from this little ball of rage. In addition to the fact that the skin of the honey badger is very durable, it also easily departs from the muscle tissue. Therefore, even if the hyena's teeth dig into the skin, it does not lead to any serious internal damage. The honey badger is just getting a little bit angrier, and he uses not only jaws with needle-sharp teeth, but also his paws. With his claws, it seems he could dig a tunnel connecting New York with Los Angeles. And the hyena's skin, moreover, will not withstand too close of an acquaintance with these claws. The giraffe is the tallest animal on the planet. An adult can easily look into the window of a third-floor-story building, standing near it. These ungulates became so tall in order to have access to the crown of savanna trees, which have juicy foliage only up at the highest altitude. But giraffes paid for such a growth with dexterity. They can run well, but a lion can easily catch up with a giraffe, especially if it is attacked from an ambush. That's exactly what happened here. Lioness has surrounded the giraffe, and one of the cats has already jumped on the back of his neck. An incredibly tense situation. It seems that the poor ungulate will not last even a few minutes under such a frenzied pressure. Several lionesses hold the giraffe by the hind legs. Do not allow you to drop the burden while the bravest predator gets to the throat. An example of almost perfect teamwork. But the giraffe doesn't seem to care. He saves his strength and doesn't even seem to be trying to escape. The lionesses made a mistake with the victim. After some time, the cat, which was trying to get to the throat of the prey, just fell to the ground. The target was too high. And then the giraffe dispersed the opponents with powerful hooves. He may not be the most agile animal in the savannah, but one hoof strike is enough to crack a lion's skull. So the cats can only swallow the dust and go home disappointed, in search of easier prey. And they were lucky enough to stay whole themselves after such an exhausting battle. Picture this. You are a solid and powerful lion who hunts bulls and protects his pride from a whole pack of hyenas. And then, as if out of nowhere, the most ordinary dog appears and chases you off like a yard cat. An offensive situation? Of course. No wonder the lions are trying to fight back and even deliver crushing blows. But the dog has caught the adrenaline rush and does not back down. Interestingly, the cases when a dog alone attacks a lion, or even a couple of lions, are not so rare. Big cats should not underestimate these toothy babies and calmly tolerate their approach. Even one dog can be a serious opponent. However, who knows? Maybe the lion is just afraid of catching something from such an opponent. He's obviously behaving like a madman. However, there is another version of why lions often retreat. The fact is that dogs know their opponent well. Therefore, they attack a vulnerable, that is, a sensitive area, the nose. Yes, a lion or a lioness can deal with an annoying dog in less than a minute. But at the same time, they will definitely get a few sensitive bites. And why do they need it? It's better to retreat. Let's clarify one moment. This is not an adult strong kangaroo deciding to teach a teenager a lesson. These are representatives of two different species. The one that is larger is a real red kangaroo, a powerful beast whose mass is approaching the weight of an adult. And this gray animal of more miniature dimensions is a wallaby. It is more than 4 times lighter and about half the size of a kangaroo. Although, of course, they are quite close relatives, as it is easy to understand due to the external similarity. At the same time, the kangaroo thinks that if it is bigger, then the wallaby will have to leave. But the gray kid doesn't agree. And he is ready to demonstrate this disagreement in a fight. This fighter will give a lot of surprises to the kangaroo. The brazen marsupial underestimated its enemy and received a decisive rebuff. When a creature that is literally 200 times heavier than you approaches you, you involuntarily tense up. Especially if there are several giants behind him. But this feathered fellow does not follow such obvious logic. This bird is not afraid. She scares the others. One sharp movement, and the cows are almost in a panic. It's amazing how much they underestimated this little opponent. Wolves are considered one of the most successful predators on the planet for a reason. Even now, when cities have grown and forests have shrunk, they remain numerous and successful, including thanks to a combination of intelligence and desperate courage. Here, several wolves become so bold that they enter the territory of a city in search of food. But the proud animals did not look for food in landfills. They found an adult Kengal. This is a special breed of dog, one of the strongest, bravest, and coolest in the world. One-on-one, Kengal may well, if he does not crack down, then at least stand up against a wolf. But there are several wild animals here, and they understand that in front of them is an enemy who may be hunting them. Therefore, the smart wolves decided to eliminate him. The Kengal desperately fights back. The scene of this fight is incredibly tense. Powerful jaws and long fangs make the wolves cautious. The dog is also smart. He presses his back against the wall, finds a corner in which to hide. This is not fear or panic. It's just that the Kengal protects himself from the rear from encirclement. If at least one wolf could attack him from behind, the others would grab him by the paws, stretch the dog, and easily finish him off. And so they have to slowly push him and look for cracks in the defense. If the Kengal loses concentration even for a moment and succumbs to fear, the enemy's fangs will immediately go into his throat. It seems that the situation is hopeless, and everything will be resolved in a few minutes. Wolves are slow for only one reason. If the Kengal manages to injure at least one of them, the pack will become less effective at hunting. Therefore, wild predators try to minimize the risks. But the excitement will prevail sooner or later. The Kengal is more massive than some wolves, but loses to this gang. If you think that this was followed by a scene of brutal violence, then you're mistaken. The wolves underestimated the Kengal. He didn't just protect his back, he was stalling. Other dogs came running to the sound of barking. There are very few breeds in the world that will dare to fight wolves without a numerical advantage of at least 1 to 3. The Kengals are just an exception. They are so brave and loyal to each other that they agree to an equal battle, 3 on 3. The alignment changed when the reinforcements literally broke into the fight and attacked the wolves from the flank. Of course, the predators did not run without looking back. They also fought back and did not allow themselves to be seriously injured. But in this fight, they definitely lost. Now they need to flee the city, and all the Kengals survived. And in case of injury, they have a host who will take care of them and cure them. For a seal, a killer whale is a real monster from the depths. With a huge difference in size and strength, the chances in battle are 0. But the seal still has one advantage. Millions of years ago, the ancestors of killer whales completely went into the ocean and lost the opportunity to return to land. But pinnipeds do not. The seal feels this, so it escapes from the black and white hunters on the ice floe. That's it, he's saved. Or is he? Unfortunately, at least for the seal, the pinniped underestimated its pursuers. Killer whales are incredibly intelligent and seem to be well-versed in physics. And thanks to echolocation, they not only know exactly where their prey is on the ice floe, but also how strong the barrier is in front of them. Thanks to the coordinated actions of killer whales, they send a wave